Hello guys, the Maniac Zach here, and welcome back to another episode of Knockout Reviews. And today, I want to do something a little bit different. With the upcoming release of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, as well as Switch Month beginning today, I wanted to review a Zelda game that came out on the Wii. Now, I don't have time to do a main series Zelda game at this moment, let alone one on the Wii like Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword, so I wanted to cover a much smaller Zelda game for the Wii, Link's Crossbow Training. For those who don't know, Link's Crossbow Training is an on-rail shooter with arcade-style levels, so it's different than your typical Zelda adventure. And it was also packed in with the Wii Zapper, which is one of the many accessories that the Wii had, alongside the nunchuck, class controller, and the balance board. So, let me get this straight. Is Link's Crossbow Training mediocre because it's packed in with a pointless accessory, or does it actually have some fun in it because it's unique enough from the rest of the Zelda series? Let's find out. Round 1. Story. Unlike most other on-rail shooter games, Link's Crossbow Training does not have a definitive story. A lot of games that are similar to Link's Crossbow Training, like Time Crisis and House of the Dead, have a story, but all of these games focus more on the game mechanics rather than a complicated plot. The main problem with not having any plot elements in this game is the fact that it doesn't explain where Link's crossbow came from. Now, normally I wouldn't care about this, but this item is rarely seen in the Zelda games. The only other one that has a crossbow as a weapon is with Link in Hyrule Warriors Legends, which came out 9 years after this game's release. Not only that, but I don't get why Link is fighting waves of enemies and just going at it with target practice in the first place. I know this isn't supposed to be a normal Zelda game, but it's just odd that we have drastically different game mechanics than what we're used to, and we don't know why. Maybe if there was a plot behind these levels, like having to do these challenges to eventually fight Ganondorf and save Zelda, then that would make more sense. It may be a little frustrating to not know where the crossbow came from and why Link's wreaking havoc everywhere, but it makes sense why the story is non-existent in a game like this. So let's just move on to the audio and visuals of this game next. Round 2. Audio and Visuals. For the most part, the music does a good job of matching the level we're in. However, the sound effects are much more powerful that they make the music hard to hear and not as memorable. Speaking of which, the sound effects of the game help it feel more like something you'd play at the arcades. I don't know why, but it feels so satisfying listening to enemies dying at that pulverizing sound of the crossbow bullets. A majority of the levels reuse the original songs that were used in Twilight Princess, such as the Zora River song being used with the Zora River target practice level. Not just the music, but most of the stage's locations are the same as the ones in Twilight Princess, such as Gerudo Desert, Zora River, and City in the Sky. Now for the visuals. For being released 10 years ago, the visuals still look decent, but some areas either blend in with Link or have washed out colors, such as the Forest Ranger level. And it's easy to tell how much this game and Twilight Princess have aged, especially with some of the low-res textures. Link's Crossbow Training uses the same game engine as with Twilight Princess, which explains the similar visuals, sound effects, and gameplay to that of Twilight Princess. Now, spin-off games that use the same engine are not new, since Triforce Heroes uses the same game engine as Link Between Worlds did, so I'm fine with the same graphical engine being used between the two games. The audio of the game is enjoyable, but it doesn't stand out too much, and due to the Wii's limitations, there wasn't too much Nintendo could have done to make the game's visuals look better, but that's okay with me. Now let's see how this game plays like. It's all up to the gameplay now to decide if this game really is worth it. Final round, gameplay. In Link's Crossbow Training, there are 3 game modes: Score Attack, which is the main mode of the game and the one I'm focusing on the most in this review, Multiplayer, and since I don't have any friends, I'm not going to talk about it in this review. Maybe I might do a separate video about that in the future, I don't know. And finally, Practice Mode, which allows you to go through each of the stages from Score Attack on its own. This is great for people who want to improve on the specific stages to get a better overall score on the main levels. In Score Attack, you start off with 3 levels, which each have 3 separate stages that can have 3 different types of gameplay. First, there's target shooting, which is as basic as pointing the Wiimote at the screen to shoot at the targets while being at a first-person perspective. As simple as it is, this level type is enjoyable. The only problem with it is that it's uncomfortable to move the targets when you're moving with the Wii Zapper. Eventually, the targets will start to have blue X marks on them, so if you hit them, you lose 100 points. This is an example of how the game spices up the level objectives while also increasing the game's difficulty to keep you on playing. Second, there's Defender, where you stay in one place and you have to protect yourself from waves of enemies from coming at you from different directions. This mode is similar to times in Time Crisis, where you have a machine gun and you have to take out waves of enemies in front of you. This mode is a radar, which helps you to know if enemies are coming from a different direction from the one you're currently facing in. But I have to say, the best part of this mode is when you get the automatic fire. That's when it really gets fun. And finally, there's Ranger, where you have to move around the levels and hunt down the enemies. This is probably my least favorite level objective type in the whole game. It's got a nice concept, but moving around with the control stick while aiming at the enemies at the same time with the Wiimote is really difficult. Even after getting used to playing these sections of the levels, it still feels very awkward for me. To unlock more of the levels in Score Attack, you have to earn a medal from the previous level. Medals are earned based on the total score you get in each level. To get the bronze medal, you have to reach 20,000 points. Then to get the silver medal, you have to reach 40,000 points. If you're up for the challenge, then there's the gold medal where you have to reach 60,000 points. And if you're a completionist at this game, to get the final one, the platinum medal, you need 80,000 points. Making the medals mandatory to get more levels to play is great, since it prevents you from being able to beat all the levels very quickly. And when you replay the levels, you're forced to think of different ways of getting points, such as shooting at background objects that are hidden in the levels. This is a great way for players to make the levels more challenging for themselves, because the levels are too easy without trying to get the medals. The objectives in the levels have some variation in them, so it doesn't feel like you're playing through the same thing again with a different coat of paint. For example, in level 2, the Zora River stage has you going down a river to fight off fish that come at you from one direction instead of them coming at you from all directions like the Defender stage in level 1. However, while the game is still enjoyable to play, it can get a little repetitive at times, and even though the game's difficulty increases slightly as you play through the levels, the majority of the game is on the easier side for me. Now let's wrap this up with my final thoughts on this game, shall we? Match results. Overall, Link's Crossbow Train does a great job of making you feel like you're playing an arm rail shooter that's at the arcades, which is what I feel that the Wii Zapper was intended to be used for. Now, for a short and simple spin-off game in the Legend of Zelda series, Link's Crossbow Training is a nice addition to the franchise. And for those of you who want to play something Zelda-related while waiting for Breath of the Wild to be released, I gotta say this is one of the few Zelda games you should try out, you know? And speaking of Breath of the Wild, that game is also trying to be unique from the rest of the Zelda series. So I guess there's nothing wrong with experiments in a video game franchise, right? Oh. Those happened. Yeah, for the most part, video game franchises should experiment, but not all the time, because those things happened. Now, for those of you who are looking for an on-rail shooter on the Wii and nothing else, I wouldn't recommend this game because of the lack of interesting story and repetitive gameplay. I would prefer to recommend something like, I don't know, House of the Dead 2 and 3 Overkill instead of this game. Now, if you're getting this game though, I gotta warn you, I recommend getting the Wii Zapper with it. Trust me, I tried this game without the Wii Zapper just to see what it would feel like, and while the Ranger sections were a lot easier, the rest of the game was way harder than it normally would be with the Zapper. Plus, the game was originally intended to be played with the Zapper, so there's that. This game gets a 7 out of 10, or an uppercut. Oh! Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe if you want to be notified when upcoming videos, including the ones in Switch Month, will be released. Also, follow me on my Twitter account, @TheManiacZach, to receive some exclusive behind-the-scenes content on upcoming videos and more. And if you want to see more Knocker Reviews episodes, if you like this one, check out the one I did on Star Fox Zero last year. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next video in Switch Month. Bye.